So I think it's about time I explained how I feel, or how I felt about Stormblood as a whole, from getting the game, playing through the story, the changes that they implemented, to the patches that came out leading up to Stormblood. And I think this will also give a lot of people perspective as to why a lot of us either jumped off the game for a while, keep going on, and then just leaving the game again, and having sort of a kind of meh or naysay kind of act or feel towards Stormblood. Hopefully people will understand why people were like, I wouldn't go into 14 right now, or why there wasn't so many people playing during this iteration of an expansion compared to something like Heavensward where people were playing every fucking day. But hopefully this explanation of Stormblood and how I feel about it will shed the light to why that is, with other people just leaving the game and then coming back, and then leaving the game and then coming back, because I did the same thing. And I'm the kind of guy who actually plays fucking MMOs every fucking day. I am a person who played Final Fantasy XI back when it first came out in 2001. I'm also one of the people, or should I say, I'm one of the survivors of the original 1.0 Final Fantasy XIV. I got my character all the way up to level 50. I even invested my time in the jobs getting my paladin all the way up to 50, and I played every single beta of Final Fantasy XIV, all of it. So I think I have a little bit of credit in this. So perhaps with that being said, we can get straight into it and see what I thought about Stormblood and how the community may have taken a hit from this. And maybe, it's just opinion, a lot of this, but it's just how I feel and what I've seen. Take what I say with a grain of salt. You have your own opinions. Of course, I would love to hear that in the comments down below, so let's get to it. So I want to first start out with the story. The story in itself was okay. It wasn't as good as to comparison to maybe Heavensward, where Heavensward you're actually fighting fucking dragons in a 1,000-year war that had a city-state fighting these dragons who are intelligent and wanted to keep up this torment for 1,000 years because of an incident that was basically a conspiracy between the church and what happened in the past. We're talking about liberation for Stormblood. So Stormblood is basically two city-states that have been pretty much stomped on by Garleans, and what you do as a warrior of light is go into these two nations. First you go into Alamigo, then you get a wall for some reason, you can't go no further, then you go to Othar to get some help, and you figure out, oh crap, Garleans took over there too, let me stomp them out. And what you really had to do was go into Kagane, which is a neutral territory, and figure some shit out. Then go cross the sea, go into Doma, liberate Doma from the literal shit that they've been going through, which is kind of harsh to see. It's more of a reality check over there on how people actually were being treated over in Doma. You liberate them. They have to go through the stigma, but they were pretty much people who were running together, and liberate Doma. Then you come all the way back to Alamigo. Then you just are pushing the charge until you liberate Alamigo, and you take on the guy who is probably one of the most badass antagonists within the story. Like, comparatively, if we're looking at the story as a whole, Heavensward had you fighting fucking dragons. Dragons are one of my favorite creatures of all time, and you fight them throughout the entirety of the expansion. But you're also fighting the conspiracies that are happening within Ishgard. So dragons may not have been your only foe, but they were more menacing. They are these giant things of nature that are more powerful and more intelligent than you are, but you're literally fighting them anyway. You go up into these great scenarios. One of my favorite tracks is in the Heavensward expansion, and you actually do defeat Nidhogg, but then even in the patches later on, he's not done. His hate is so fueled that you're not done. It isn't until you finally defeat Nidhogg is when you start going into Stormblood territory. In Stormblood, however, you do defeat this guy named Xenos, and Xenos is pretty much a giant badass. He is basically a walking barrels of swords Sephiroth who whoops your ass twice before you get him in Alamigo. But then at the end of that, in Alamigo, he kind of forms with this giant primal that was actually summoned at the end of Heavensward, and he forms with Shinryu, that's the dragon. Then you defeat Shinryu, then he's, you got him in a corner, and then he kills himself. So in Heavensward, you actually, with like the power of friendship and stuff, finish off Nidhogg. Xenos kills himself. kind of takes away all the glory and all that pent-up rage, like I'm about to finish this guy off. Nope, kills himself, steals that glory away. Now, if that isn't as blue ballsy as fuck, then I don't know what is. That's just the ending of the story, though. That's the ending of the main scenario story, where Xenos just takes his own life. And even after that, you're rebuilding both Doma and Roger's Reach, or not Roger's Reach, but Alamigo. And that's all it is, building a relationship, trying to recover from what the Guardians did in this war. And then you're heading into Shadowbringers thereafter. So, comparatively, where Heavensward had you building a relationship with the Dravanians, mainly Hirschvolger's faction, you're trying to build up these cities in Stormblood, which comparatively is not as interesting. And that's just story-wise. However, when it comes to content, it's better in Stormblood because you have Evilise and Omega, and I love those. But I have to also give it to Heavensward that gave us the Maki story, which gave us a little insight in the lore and history of 14 itself. We're talking about the city of Mach. We're talking about the War of the Magi. We're talking about learning more of the Void Scent. We're talking about Diablos, I think. Not Diabolos, his name is Diablos. I got a little mixed up there because I'm now in the Diabolos server, which, by the way, I do stream, and I am in the Diabolos server, which is now in the new server of Crystal, or new data center of Crystal. If you guys want to join me for that, then be my guest. I'm always open. Here's my schedule. So comparatively, I do like the patches, the content of Stormblood. I love them in terms of raid. That's it. That's about it. In terms of the story, it was kind of boring, so it was basically just leading up to Shadowbringers, whereas Heavensward, I love the raids. I also love the content that they're coming out with. I like, what they were implementing, what they were adding. I mean, in this one you can swim, that's about it, while Heavensward, in Stormblood you can swim, and in Heavensward you can fly, which is great, because Heavensward, when being able to fly and go everywhere is great. How they implemented that, though, some people have like some sort of controversy with, because you have to go into different air nodes, then you have to investigate it, and then if you get all the air nodes in the area, which basically means go all around the entirety, up and down in different places of the area, now you can fly. Where in Stormblood you can just swim, but you have to go into the Red Sea, where you first get the ability to go underwater and breathe underwater, then you can swim. But they don't utilize the ability to swim so much, because even after you swim, most of the swimming mechanics is just in the Red Sea, and that's it. After that, you're not really swimming much. You only swim for like part of the time and then you're out. Where in Heavensward, flying was a thing. Flying got you to new locations, where it was side stories, side quests, or main scenario. Flying was a big feature. There was an entire place, which, they did in Stormblood, where the Red Sea is where swimming is where you're going to be doing most, unless you don't care about going in the ocean, which in the main scenario they force you to. Heavensward has the Cloud Sea. They have this whole entire ecosystem, this place where you get to fly around. You don't get to do it in the first place, but you look at this place in the beginning like, oh man, I can't wait to start flying here. And you do later on. You go through Heavensward and you go to one of my favorite locations of all time, which is basically a sea of trees. I love this place, and it has one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. But you go throughout the entirety of the area and you start flying. You go up this giant mountain, you get near, you go closer and closer to Nidhogg. But this place, the Cloud Sea, the place where you fight a giant fucking whale, giant fucking cloud whale, this place is so fun to fly through. You can even see a void arc in the distance, of which that raid is all great. So what Heavensward gives you is more rewarding compared to how Stormblood implements its rewarding new systems as well. So I'm still I'm leaning on the side of Heavensward still, even though their rate tiers are better. Whereas Heavensward patches, what they give you and their changes it was all good. Now I don't remember all the changes of what they did to the classes themselves, which I'm going to get into, but comparatively to Stormblood, it's more like Stormblood took a lot away where Heavensward just gave you more. So you see, when Heavensward gave you Dark Knight, Machinist, and Astrologian. Astrologian is now my main healer, Dark Knight is my main job, and Machinist I'm really actually getting into, and I actually like the job. And Stormblood gave you Samurai and Red Mage. Now everybody was going to play Samurai. Let's just get that out of the way. Everybody loves Samurai. Everybody just dove into Samurai like it ain't no thing as soon as that came out. And Red Mage became like the most utilized magic class in every raid ever because it does everything. But those two classes comparatively to Heavensward, I felt was a little short-sighted because we're talking about 2 more DPS compared to an even trio of tanks, DPS, and healers. Where Heavensward gave you that even distribution, we have Stormblood giving you 2 DPS, which inadvertently gave us longer queue times. Even if they tried to fix the system, which they did, they fixed the servers because of what happened with, Rabon Extreme and Pippin Savage, which in my story, I got stuck on Pippin Savage for a couple days until I woke up 3 o'clock in the morning and actually did that damn thing. And I was like, oh crap, I can get through. And I finally got through, and all my friends hated me because of that. And I was finally actually able to finish the story because of that. Heavensward had a little bit of a situation like that too, but it wasn't as bad. And now we had a queue time of like 30 to 45 minutes. In Stormblood, where in Heavensward it was actually more even now, even though some people will say it didn't change. Trust me when I say that a lot of people may have played the new GPS of Machinist, but there were a lot of Dark Knights and there were a lot of Astros, which kind of divvied up the queue time. Stormblood did not do that. Stormblood had more DPS, which caused the queue time to be longer, even though the classes were fun and kind of overpowered if you look at the Samurai before in terms of the patches, and they really did take away in Stormblood when it came to all the jobs. Like, they kind of killed a lot of the jobs by taking it away and mismatching their actions. Now, we were rewarded with more new actions, maybe, but they took a lot more away rather than giving us more. Like, they took a lot of utility from Dark Knight, and what we gained in terms of Stormblood as Dark Knight really didn't help the cause of them being a tank, where Paladin and Warrior just were like, it was like Christmas for them. And DPS, they kind of specialize in their own state, but Stormblood, you would think that monks would be the go-to class in Stormblood because it features monks in the trailer, and you would think that, oh man, monks are going to be like badass in Stormblood. No. No, it was basically all Samurai. Samurai was basically the DPS class to go to. They did so much fucking damage, and Red Mage was so utilized. Monk was pretty much put in the back burner, and this was their expansion. Meanwhile, Heavensward said, hey, did you know Dragoon was a class? And everybody's like, well, yeah, we know it's a class. Did you know it got better? And when we got into Heavensward with Dragoon, we all fell in fucking love with the Dragoon. Like, the Dragoon got better, along with the fact that Dark Knight was badass, and at a point it was actually the best tank in the game for a short time, obviously. And then Astros still utilized as one of the best classes if you want to go through any kind of raid to this day, but back in Heavensward it was like, oh man, it's confusing, but I can't wait to master this. And Machinist was kind of like the same thing. However, there was a little controversy with the Machinist and how it was used, and because of its Gauss barrel and all that other stuff. I'm not really going to get into it. They did make it better in Stormblood in a way, but I don't see a lot of Machinists nowadays anyway. But it was all Samurai and all Red Mages, and that being said, this is the reason why people actually left Stormblood, because now we're going to get into the patches, and the patches that we've gotten wasn't all that utilized great. I think I said this already, but Stormblood had a lot of what I would say ambition to get us to keep playing, and a lot of things that would probably be easier for us to get our new weapons, because expansions, they give us weapons. At the end of Realm Reborn, we were looking at weapons. At the end of Heavensward, we were looking at relics. At the end of Stormblood, we're looking at Eureka gear, which is very based on they give us areas that are kind of based on Final Fantasy XI, but the problem is that Final Fantasy XI's system is so archaic and so difficult to actually get used to, and you're basically starting yourself down to zero again in Eureka, and you're building yourself up so that you can go through these loot boxy kind of things. They're not total loot boxes because you don't have to pay for them, but they're loot boxy kind of things, and you have to utilize those to upgrade your weapons, your armor, and everything. And it just wasn't for me. Like, honestly, in Heavensward, where they had this whole light system, which was annoying, but the relic system in that one, I can get around, and you would be doing raids over and over again with your friends. You're trying to get better, trying to utilize all that. Whereas in Stormblood, Eureka, you didn't really... Like, in Heavensward, they utilize the raids and extreme raids to make yourself and your relics better, where in Stormblood, the raids themselves weren't as important, and they made a totally different content for getting a better weapon. So you can do Eureka or the raids, which split everything up, making it even more work. And then people started getting bored and dropping off. So we were starting to see a lot of people drop off, move to another game, move to different places. Like, I eventually got a Switch and started playing with my Switch, and then I had like the worst year of my life. And now we're here where I'm trying to get back into it, catching up, trying to do Eureka so I can get my 405 weapon. And it just... I didn't really get as much fun and much commitment because of certain things like Eureka trying to give us artificial means of staying in the game, only to annoy us and to actually, push us away. Whereas in Heavensward, everything kind of connected together, where you're trying to work on your relic, but you could still do in-game extreme content. You have people doing ultimate content and all that other good stuff, where in Stormblood, it just didn't work out the same. It just didn't. Like, people have to go into a different area, which is Eureka. And I have to say this, I'm going to say this right now, Eureka kind of killed it for a lot of us, because that's more content. That's a whole new world that you have to go into just to get the upgraded weapon that you're seeking. And then there are people who stick around for the extreme fights, to take on Omega, to take on Ultimate, to take on all that good stuff to get your weapons that are incredibly crazy. But nope, Eureka is still a thing. So that's my opinion on that. You guys probably have something different. You can let me know in the comments below. And I just want to talk to you guys about this. I can't wait for Shadowbringers, to be honest. I'm hoping to see that they're going to make certain changes to certain classes in particular and make them better so that they're not invaluable anymore. Well, that's just me. If you have a different opinion of mine, please let me know in the comments below. And if you want to hear more things like this, please leave a like. I will be coming back with a different video that isn't like this. I'm going to try and see if I can do some more content on the channel. But again, yeah, leave what you think in the comments below. I'm honestly real interested on hearing what other people have to say about Stormblood, and possibly what you thought about in past content comparatively, Heavensward versus Stormblood. So I'll see you guys later. Have a good